Hello, everyone, and welcome to the California MBA Connect podcast. I'm Josh Venn, CEO of Insellerate, and today we get to do a podcast takeover on actually what happens to be the 100th episode for the CMBA, which is pretty remarkable to think that even 3-4 years ago, things like the podcasts for someone like the CMBA probably wouldn't have been thought of. So it's interesting how quickly times change. I think we'll talk a little bit about that. And that's what Insellerate tries to help with. We're trying to be innovative technology leaders in the mortgage space. So you can always come look at our company, see how we can help you as well. Now, I'm really excited to have with me guests who I've been fortunate to know Rob for, I don't know, going on 10 years now. I think it's probably about when it's been. And everyone, I think, I always tell Rob is the most known person in the mortgage industry. We did ask him to start with a joke today. If anyone, since you're so infamous for those, Rob. So why don't we start with the joke, and then we can hop into what we're going to talk about, which is everyone loves to hear: rate, secondary market, what's going on in the mortgage market generally, and what are the broad changes that we see happening.
Well, thank you for preparing me for the request for a joke, Josh. So a limping dog walks into a saloon and says, "I'm looking for the man who shot my paw." How's that? Is it?
Oh,
then in quotes or parentheses, wait for laughter to stop.
Yeah,
so,
that was good. All right, that's a good joke. I like that one. My kids can use too. So I think it's interesting. Kind of where we are in the market right now. We've been talking about that the market's going to be seeing rising rate environment, that the Fed's going to raise rates. Last year during COVID, the thought was, no, there's no such thing as inflation. It's just, happens to be supply demand chain, issues, and it'll change as soon as, it opens up. But it looks like we are getting more into inflation. The market has started to change. Rates are, rising. I'm, interested, Rob. What do just kind of what's your comments? Where do you think the market is? Where do you think are we going to continue to see rates rise? Are we going to see them level out? What are your thoughts there? Use your crystal ball.
Boy, I hate crystal balls. We used to keep a coin on the trading desk, and when some client would ask which way are rates going, we'd flip it, and heads they were going up, tails they were going down, which is just as good as some of the forecasts I've heard. But overall, as we saw at the mid-March Fed meeting, they raised rates, I should say they bumped targeted Fed fund rate up a quarter as expected. The general consensus is that they will raise rates throughout 2022. However, as we saw with a flight to quality when Russia attacked Ukraine, there's not a smooth path toward higher rates. Nobody wants higher rates, but when 30-year rates were down in the 2s, we knew they weren't going to go into the 1s, right? So almost nowhere to go up but up. So we're seeing that go up, and lenders and loan originators are reacting to that. But it's important for people to remember why rates are going up, and that's because as we came out of 2021 and into 2022, there was this huge pent-up demand for consumer goods, huge pent-up demand for travel, for dining out. The airports were filling up, the restaurants were filling up, the roads were filling up. So you just saw this surge of economic activity that for many people, it had been a year or two since they took their family on a vacation or went to Disneyland or whatever it might be. So there's a lot of demand for things, and that surge in economic growth coupled with some of the supply chain issues that we were having really bumped prices up. And so the Fed, seeing that, probably got caught behind the 8 ball to some extent, has been playing catch up with this inflationary picture. But then when Russia attacked Ukraine, suddenly we saw this flight to quality driving prices higher, rates lower. So a lot of volatility came out of the Russia-Ukraine situation, but the overall trend for rates is expected to go higher because of the inflation that we all are seeing at the gas pump, in the grocery store, with rent, and so on.
No, that's interesting. I wonder as the rates rise, we've had a very robust housing market. I mean, the year over year growth is just, drastically increasing. And, I've looked at the view of if rates continue to rise, can home prices rise at this rate? Because how do you support people who are buying a house? It's really what they qualify for, which is how much money they have to put down in their debt to income ratio. So it's like leasing a car. It doesn't matter how much the car costs, it's how much you have to put down, how much you have to pay for it to drive it for 3 years. Those are usually the drivers. So I don't know if you see home prices going up and down, but I think that's going to be, obviously there's a lot of volatility right now. So that's going to, change a lot.
So through March and April, done a fair amount of traveling. And as I drive through neighborhoods, I keep a semi-conscious lookout for sale signs. I have yet to see any appreciable number of for sale signs coast to coast. The inventory continues to be low. People still want to own homes. And many people, while they weren't going to Disneyland or eating out in restaurants during the pandemic, have saved up a fair amount of money. And in fact, the American or the savings rate in the United States, I think hit an all-time high or near an all-time high. So people have money to spend. And the question is, and I think viewers need to ask themselves, okay, if I've got money saved up, do I want to buy treasury bills or notes or bonds? Do I want to buy municipal bonds? Do I want to buy Bitcoin? Do I want to buy, virtual art? Do I want to buy stocks? Or do I want to buy real estate? And real estate throughout history has shown decent levels of appreciation, not like we've seen over the last couple of years, which is very unusual, but steady growth in real estate over time. And so people who have saved up money, when you talk to them about what are you going to do with your money, a lot of them will say, well, we're going to put it back into our home in terms of home improvements, or they want to buy a second home, or they want to buy a non-owner occupied home, whatever it might be. It seems like real estate is highly in demand. So even though the affordability has declined because of appreciation and because of higher interest rates, people still want to own that asset. And that's what we're seeing out there in the marketplace. Is that what you're seeing as well?
No, I think that is, what we are seeing. The inventory hasn't come back. There's still a massive shortage in inventory. Then I think you're right. People have saved up their money, and they have more money to spend, and they're ready to buy houses. And also, I think the other thing we've seen is, or from consumers, over the last 2 years, we spent more times in our homes than we normally do. So that desire to have a house that's really comfortable and to be what you want it to be, and if, hey, shoot, I can get a better house in case this happens again, and I want to have a pool in the backyard, I think that's, we're seeing a lot of that as well.
I agree. The people are investing in high quality art for those houses. I have dogs playing poker on my living room above the fireplace. Place of honor. So anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I like that. It's also something we've seen. This kind of maybe a follow-up question to just housing, but we've started to see a lot more non-QM products come out over the last 6 to 12 months than even before. More interest only, less down payment. There's this whole new, I don't know, resurgence of lending right now. What do are you seeing that? What do you see about that?
Maybe this will be the year for non-QM, because it's supposed to have been the year for non-QM ever since non-QM was invented. And we haven't seen it yet for a variety of reasons. The investor demand is certainly out there for higher yielding products. The borrower demand is there for things like bank statements. And I know in the middle of March, United Wholesale came out with a bank statement program, and companies are looking at the ability to repay requirements with perhaps a slightly different angle. When you talk to veteran loan officers and veteran lenders in general, about, gee, do we want to go back to 2006, 2007, 2008 with, Nina loans and Ninja loans and state of this and so forth? The answer is invariably no. But that said, if there is some investor appetite for some product, there will be originators who originate that product and send it to that investor. So there's definitely a push-pull that's going on there, and different programs are coming into vogue, I would say, as we pass through 2022 more than in previous years. Bond programs are coming back, down payment assistance programs are good to have, and the non-QM, private label, jumbo, some of these peripheral products that aren't going to amount to, a huge percentage of the market are picking up a little bit of steam because so many borrowers in the last few years have obtained 30-year fixed rate FHA, VA, Fannie, Freddie loans at, in the 2s or low 3s, and they're in good shape, they're set. So now the deals that I'm seeing, and I want to ask you and what Insellerate is seeing, but now I'm seeing with the little hairier deals that are coming through, originators are looking for other avenues and other loan products. Are you at Insellerate seeing the same thing?
We are actually. That's something a lot of our lenders that we're having the refi, we're seeing do non-QM and then also HELOCs. That's a product that's coming back in the marketplace. I mean, there really hasn't been anyone selling HELOCs in a massive way for a long time. And there's a lot of people who have a 2.5% interest rate, but have all this equity, and they'd love to be able to tap that. I think something that is interesting to note, and you talked about the meltdown, 2006, 7, 8, and so forth. The reality up until that period, we had like a very healthy secondary market that had these loans in it for 20, 30 years that performed great. So we only had like a brief period and then it completely went away, right? Now we're maybe like 10% back to where we were, and maybe we get to 20. There's still, I think, a lot of high quality loans out there and borrowers that just don't fit the traditional box. And I think that we're seeing lenders trying to figure out, all right, well, how do I really understand who can pay, how it's going to perform, and what's really someone's income, and how do I make exceptions or programs that fit those people who don't have this traditional income. That's definitely changing. What do something that we're seeing is we've over the last, let's say, 6 months have gotten record resurgence of people asking to look at our product, going on to our website, looking at technology. We're speaking to more people now than we have even in the past about, hey, it's time to get new software. And we're moving into a new era. And let's face it, I think 2020 was when everyone said, hey, we got to do it because otherwise we can't compete for the next, the new decade. But then refinance market hit into place, and you could be really inefficient and do anything you could do anything you wanted and still make a lot of money. So people didn't invest. Are you seeing, your lenders that you work with and talk to, are you seeing them readdressing kind of their technology stack, making changes, comp plans? We're seeing the amount of interest in consumer direct lending has just gone through the roof over the last 6 to 9 months. We're seeing are you seeing something similar to that, or?
Absolutely. In general, the residential lenders or the residential lending industry is filled with, smart people who can think on their feet and who act and react, and they like to say that they are going to where the puck is going versus where the puck has been. I know that's overused, but it's still very, very good saying. And companies and individuals are looking at their technology infrastructure or their tech stack, whatever you might call it, and saying, what is best going to help my borrower? It's not so much, let's go get the bright, shiny object. It's what's going to best suit my customer and what best fits in with my other technology pieces that I use and that I like. So I'm definitely seeing that. And it's not so much technology replacing people, it is technology being used to leverage existing people's efforts and brain power and experience and help them do a better job. And I'm seeing an immense amount of that as I travel around the U.S. and talk to lenders and CEOs and originators and so forth. It's what's out there that can best help my borrower, and how does it fit with my other components?
That makes sense. The other thing we're seeing is lenders ask themselves this question: how do I change my cost to produce a loan? What are the things I need to put in place? And a lot of them are coming to the conclusion that they have to do something drastically different in technology to drive a lower cost to produce a loan, because there's too many human dependencies or human processes that just increase costs versus speed up efficiencies. And obviously, reduce the cost to produce a loan, the loan closes faster, it's cheaper to the consumer, they're happy, everyone's happy, right?
Exactly. I'm seeing that as well. The race will not be won by the high cost producer, put it that way. And to the extent that they can, companies, if you think about the capital markets, the MBS price is here and the servicing is that, so it gets up to that level. Pretty much everybody is selling loans or selling what they manufacture at a certain price. The question is, how can they adjust their cost downward to help their profit margin? And I'm seeing that everywhere, trying to become more efficient and trying to help their customers at the same time as becoming more efficient, lowering costs. It's happening everywhere, and it's using up a tremendous amount of bandwidth by managers and by owners at all lending shops.
Yeah, no, we're seeing that, and we're seeing a lot of lenders look at the next handful of years of being very different than the last 20. I mean, they have to do things differently, and they come off a couple year record of profits. A lot of them have increased balance sheets, and the smart ones are really investing now, in their, like, either, as you said, going where the hockey puck's going to be, figuring out that in 3 years they have to be, their technology and their experience for their borrower has to be world class if they want to compete. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're running out of time here. So I just wanted to say, Rob, as always, it's been great to have you. I really appreciate it. Susan Milazzo and the CMBA, I really appreciate letting us taking the podcast over, and congratulations on having 100 of them. And Rob, wait, where are you right now, by the way?
Oh, at a non-disclosed location, Josh. I can't release that information, but yes, thank you very much for having me, and thank you to the California MBA for having this podcast, and go Insellerate.
Thanks. All right, everybody, have a great day.